In this video, I want to show you guys the spirit boons, the skills, the gear, the Paragon, and the Seneschal Construct options I'm using in Diablo 4 Season 3 on this Lightning Storm Companion, Druid. Before we get into the breakdown of this entire build, I just want to take 2 seconds to say thank you to Ace of Spades, or Goblin Inc., as he's known here on YouTube. While I've never had the privilege of talking to this guy, community members had introduced me to this build, and I got to tell you, if it's good, I'm going to share it with you, and this build is that good. I was doing another version which had Grizzly Rage and was trying to really exploit the always being unstoppable and this huge kind of werewolf kind of thing. And that was great for AoE clear, but I was never able to obtain the kind of damage that Ace found out earlier on in the season. So again, big shout out to him. This is the build that he's using, or that he was using at the time of this video, and it got me to the end game and was able to allow me to help people with the difficult content in the game. And that's what I love to do. So Ace, you made that possible for me. And let's go through this build for everybody else's benefit if they want to enjoy this Lightning Storm Companion build. The skills for the build are as follows. I'm putting 1 point into Earth Spike, 1 point into Enhanced Earth Spike. Moving into our core skills, 2 points into Heart of the Wild, 3 points into Wild Impulses. You are going to max out Lightning Storm. This is your main skill. 1 point into Enhanced Lightning Storm, 1 point into Raging Lightning Storm. Then you're going to put 1 point into Predatory Instincts with 3 points into Digidegrade Gate. Moving into your defensive skills, 1 point into Earthen Bulwark, 1 point into Enhanced Earthen Bulwark, and 1 point into Preserving Earthen Bulwark. You're then going to max out Ancestral Fortitude, all 3 points, and max out Vigilance with all 3 points there. Moving into your companions, we're going to select 1 point into Wolves, 3 points into Nature's Reach, 1 point into Poison Creeper, 1 point into Ravens, 1 point into Enhanced Ravens, and 1 point into Brutal Ravens. Then we're going to put 3 points into Elemental Exposure from our Wrath skill tree, and 1 point into Trample. You're then going to put 1 point into Neurotoxin, 3 points into Envenom, and 1 point into Toxic Claws. I have +3 on my amulet, that's why you see 6 here. Moving into your ultimate skills, I'm putting 3 points into Defiance. You see 6 because I get 3 from my gloves, 3 points into Circle of Life, and 3 points into Resonance. Max Resonance, max Circle of Life, and max Defiance. You're then going to put 1 point into Quick Shift, and 3 points into Heightened Senses. Finally, for your key passive, you're going to be tossing in Nature's Fury. The gear for the build is as follows. Tempest Roar is the unique helmet you want for the build. We're going to be using Symbiotic Legendary Aspect for the chest. The gloves are the new unique Unsung Ascetic Wraps. The legs we're going to be using Tibalt's Will when you can acquire them. You're going to want to get Ghostwalker Legendary Aspect on your boots. For your two-handed weapon, you're going to go with the Shepherd's Legendary Aspect, and you do want to use a two-handed axe for this, as you do more damage to healthy targets instead of Overpower, which is nice sometimes, but not ideal for the build in my opinion. Finally, on the amulet, you're going to have Natural Balance Legendary Aspect. The ring will be the Ring of Starless Skies, if you can get it. If not, you can go with Retaliation. That's also a great Legendary Aspect slot. Finally, Circle of the Stampede is the last Legendary Aspect you're going to use on your final ring. So why do we want Tempest Roar? Well, there's a couple reasons. Tempest Roar gives you that sputtery smooth gameplay. Lucky hit opportunity of your Storm skills, which is just Lightning Storm, has a 25% chance, if you can roll it there, to give you 4 Spirit. And in addition, your base Storm skills are also Werewolf skills. So you are going to be using the Werewolf glyph in this build, so you take 10% damage while you're channeling, which is always good. Symbiotic is like mandatory for the build this way. You'll notice of all of our skills here, we don't actually have a generator skill. Our basic skill isn't here. We're using companions. We've got Trample to give us additional Unstoppable, and we are going to be using Earthen Bulwark and Lightning Storm. So why Symbiotic? Well, we're using Nature's Fury key passive from our skills, which we saw previously. And so whenever we're using Lightning Storm, we get free Earthen Bulwarks. And Earthen Bulwark gives us Unstoppable. And that plays quite well with Tibalt's. When you become Unstoppable, you get 50 of your primary resource. So the more frequently, I should say, as long as the frequency is high that we're proccing Lightning Storm opportunities with our Symbiotic, we're going to be getting more Earthen Bulwark. So we have almost perma-Unstoppable, increased barrier opportunity all the time, and Symbiotic makes that possible. When the Nature's Fury key passive triggers a free skill, your non-ultimate cooldowns of the opposite type are reduced. So in English, right, whenever we're hitting Lightning Storm, we're reducing the cooldown of Earthen Bulwark. I'll show that to you right here, just so you can see it. We pop Earthen Bulwark, we start hitting the training dummy, and then as we're actually clicking Lightning Storm, look at that. The cooldown goes away very, very rapidly. And that is how that plays from your Symbiotic Legendary Aspect, okay? And the resource gets filled up from Tibalt's. So we just gained 50 there, right? And now we're Unstoppable. We're doing all kinds of damage. Great. Let's keep looking at this. So Ghostwalker, why is that? Well, while Unstoppable, which is all the time with our Earthen Bulwark, and for 4 seconds after, we get additional movement speed. And I think the build does feel rather slow, so it's nice to get that Ghostwalker, and the ability to move through any target is always great in a game like Diablo 4 or any ARPG. So, Shepherds, what are we doing here? Core skills deal an additional 20% multiplicative damage for each companion, and this is the vehicle for the whole build. the more companions you can assemble, the more damage the build does. And this is such a great idea, and it's been amazing. So you're going to have 3 wolves that are out. You're also going to summon ravens whenever you're ready, right? Because if you remember from the skill tree here, I'll bring it down so you can check it out. Right here. So Brutal Ravens gives you 2 additional ravens that periodically attack, increases the passive damage. So we don't really care about the passive damage. We just want to do this. We want to start channeling, right? Channeling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we press ravens, and that's a whole bunch of companions out. And that's how you start breaching like the million DPS hits. You're using this to summon additional companions while you're out. That's what Shepherd's doing. It's the companion vehicle, I should say the companion suite, to get that damage out, and it's amazing. Finally, natural balance. So casting a storm skill, Lightning Storm, grants your earth skills some amount of critical strike damage for 4 seconds. We don't care so much about that. We don't really do earth damage. There's no skill that we're using that gives us earth damage. But casting an earth skill increases the critical strike chance of Lightning Storm by up to 18%. So again, while we're doing this interplay of Lightning Storm, allowing Earth and Bulwark to happen more, we're increasing the critical strike opportunity. Now, this was not working on launch, but it's working now. The Ring of the Starless Skies, after spending your primary resource, which is Spirit, we then reduce the cost of our Lightning Storm, which for me at the moment costs 15. It reduces that and then allows it to do multiplicative damage up to 40 times. So that's 1.4x. That's tremendous, and that's why you want to use it. It's just giving you longer channel opportunities or longer Lightning Storm opportunities, and then increasing that damage as you go, which is just exactly what the build wants. And I should say the affixes aren't the worst either. Critical strike chance, critical strike damage, and lucky hit is also very good because it does coincide with the Tempest Roar opportunity to give us some of that spirit back. Okay? And finally, Ring of the Stampede. You get 1 additional companion, which is basically like saying we get 20% extra multiplicative damage, but in addition, your companion skills deal more damage, which is kind of okay. We'll take free damage anytime we can get it, but we're using this to get 20x multi at the moment. The Seneschal Construct governing and tuning stones we're going to use at the moment kind of look like this. Flash of Adrenaline. It administers an ability for the character to enjoy some multiplicative damage bonus. That's what Flash of Adrenaline does. So this happens every 14 seconds and has a speed application of 1.5 seconds. And we're going to go ahead and tune that with Tactical Support, which decreases the cooldown. So it allows this to happen more rapidly. And currently that's happening 32% faster than usual. And I get to enjoy a multiplicative damage bonus, even though mine's just level 1 at the moment, of 11%, which is kind of huge. So Tactical Support reduces that cooldown or allows it to happen more frequently. I'm also going to enjoy the Fortify support. So whenever the Seneschal Construct or your companion uses Flash of Adrenaline, I also get to get 640 Fortify. And I would like to replace this with Genesis, but at the time of making this video for you guys, Echo of Malphas was just recently changed by Blizzard, and so I don't have all the currency to continue running this guy, but Genesis would be amazing because it's going to augment the ability of Flash of Adrenaline by 150% efficiency. So you can only imagine how much multiplicative damage that's going to be when you get this thing capped out, right? Incredible power. But for the moment, we're using Fortify. And finally, duration support. So while we're enjoying this benefit of multiplicative damage, we want to make sure that's happening more rapidly and for longer duration. So duration support's there to assist with that. Then we're going to have the option for Tempest. Tempest is one of the fastest Governing Stone range skills you can get. The speed fires off at 1.1 seconds, and you're going to compare that here. So Tempest is speed of 1.1 delivery seconds to do damage, up against Firefly, which takes 3.9 seconds, or Lightning Bolt, which is 1.7, and then Focus Fire of 3.3. So this is the one you want. It's range where you're playing, and it's perfect for the build. It does additional lightning damage, which doesn't hurt, even though we don't ever rely on this. That damage is like nothing, basically nothing. But it is happening all the time, and we allow it to give us breaking support. Breaking support every 1.1 seconds will potentially give an opportunity for that target or the target that gets hit by it to be vulnerable for 2 seconds, which we want. That's 20% multiplicative, plus any additional vulnerable damage benefits that we enjoy. Additionally, Safeguard. So when we use this skill every 1.1 seconds, we do get to enjoy 6% damage reduction based on the level of the stone. So it gives you damage reduction, it gives vulnerability to the targets, which is great, and finally, the efficiency support. So while this thing is firing off every 1.1 seconds, we also get additional critical strike chance on that target for 3 seconds. So basically, this setup with Tempest allows you to always enjoy even more critical strike opportunity to make sure that your Lightning Storm is critting so that you can benefit the advantage that you're getting from the new unique right here, the Unsung Ascetic Wraps. Oh, pardon me, right there. So the Spirit Boons for this build are as follows. For the Deer Spirit, we're going to be going with Wariness. We're going to take 10% less damage from elites. It's arguably the best option in the row. For the Eagle Spirit, we're going to choose the following: Iron Feather, and then Avian Wrath. This is now changed to crit a multiplicative crit damage instead of additive, so that's a big change for the build. So 14% X multi-life, and then multi-damage, exactly what the build wants. We don't need attack speed because that doesn't affect the channel time of Lightning Storm. And then Scythe Talons is kind of nice. I may go here, but I don't want to give up all that life. It's a difficult choice for me, but I ultimately go with 14% multiplicative life because I like to be alive. And then for the Wolf Spirit, we're going to be choosing Energize. This build does dump quite a bit of spirit all the time as you're constantly channeling the skill, and that seems to be the go-to option in row 3 here. Critical strikes have a chance to reset to cooldowns of your companion skills. We don't even really use that outside of Ravens for bosses. Fortify for more defense. We're already doing just fine with Earth and Bulwark, pretty much being perma. And then Calamity, we don't use an ultimate skill. Finally, the Snake Spirit. We're going to be going with Masochistic. As you recall, we lost the ability to gain a lot of life in our Vampiric Power system in Season 2. Now in Season 3, Masochistic solves that for us. Critical strikes with shapeshifting skills have up to a 75% chance to heal you for 3% of your maximum life, which is currently 615. So shapeshifting skill, Lightning Storm, shapeshifting because it's a wolf skill. We don't need to get every 20th kill our next Earth skill overpowers. We're not getting benefit from that. Overload, it does sound juicy, but it just doesn't perform as well as it reads. And 5,185 damage isn't really all that much. Considering that our main skill is doing 35k, it just doesn't hold up. And finally, Calm Before the Storm. We're not using an ultimate skill, so this is just not relevant for what we're trying to do today. Not in this build. The Paragon board is as follows. The starting board, we're going to be enjoying the Exploit Glyph. This says that whenever an enemy is damaged by us, they become vulnerable for 3 seconds, but this can't happen more than once every 20 seconds. And remember, when things are vulnerable, they take 20% multiplicative damage, and in this case, an additional 45.9% vulnerable damage. Then we go into our second board, the Ancestral Guidance board. After spending 75 Spirit or casting Lightning Storm 5 times, we deal 30% increased multiplicative damage for 5 seconds. And I'll be quite honest, this is difficult to track, but when it happens, man, does it ever feel good. You try to line that up as best you can, but it's a great node. We get a lot of benefit from it, so we definitely work towards that. We're also going to be enjoying the Reclamation rare node. It gives us maximum spirit, which allows us to just continually hit with Lightning Storm with that big spirit pool that we have. But also the nodes around it give us additional spirit on kill, which is huge because that mitigates the big drain of just constantly casting Lightning Storm. So we love that. We're also going to take Natural Attunement, which again, more life, more maximum spirit with a bunch of magical nodes that give us more spirit and life. Perfect for the build. We're also going to be taking Harmony, which gives us core skill damage, which is Lightning Storm. And the glyph we're going to use here is Guzzler. Guzzler is going to give us 77.2% increased damage while we're healthy, because we always are. In addition, we get 30% more increased potion healing. That's just nice to have. We're also going to be enjoying the Resolve rare node. This gives us more resistance, so helps cap your resistances. Okay? That's board number 2. Number 3 is the Thunderstruck board. So Thunderstruck says that our Storm skills, which is our primary Lightning Storm skill, deals increased damage equal to 20% multiplicative damage of our damage versus close and damage versus distant, which is why you want to get this anywhere you can on things like your weapon, damage versus close, damage versus distant, if possible on your ring, damage versus close, damage versus distant. And you could also get it, if you could, if you're not using Ring of the Starless Skies as an example, you might be using Retaliation. If that's the case, try to go for damage versus close, damage versus distant. And as a subtle reminder, I think the right ring for the build would be life, maximum life, damage versus close, damage versus distant, and then finally critical strike chance. Get those 4 and your rings are perfect. Okay, let's get back into the Paragon board for just a moment. So Thunderstruck board is board number 3, and we're looking at it right up here. And again, Thunderstruck getting a huge bonus at the moment. It's applying an additional 30% multiplicative damage overall to what we're doing. And I'm looking to scale that up just to see what we could do because it's a great node. We're also going to be enjoying Lightning Resilience. It just gives us maximum life 6% for the one node. And we also get to enjoy Lightning Resistance, which is great because we do want to have all of our resistances capped. And at the moment, this build is. We're also going to be taking Dulge. So Dulge is going to give us 30% critical strike damage and damage to crowd controlled. So if you're not sure how the build gets crowd control, it's actually kind of simple, and I'll show it to you right here. So in the skill tree, every time we critically strike, this is the cluster here that's giving us that benefit. So poisoned enemies are slow. Slow is a crowd control, okay? And Envenom says that you and your companions gain 60% multiplicative critical strike damage against poisoned enemies. But how do we poison them? It's right here with Toxic Claws. So critical strikes with werewolf skills deal 8% of that base damage as poison. Once they're poisoned, they're slow. Once they're slow, they're CC. So how do we get Lightning Storm to become a werewolf skill? We take care of that inside Tempest Roar. Your base storm skills are werewolf skills. That's how good that helmet is. That's why it's so important. Everything is constantly crowd controlled. And again, this is board number 3, the Thunderstruck board. Board number 4 is going to be the Constricting Tendrils board. While we don't take that node, we do go into the glyph, which is Spirit. Spirit gives us 154.4% critical strike damage and increases the damage that an enemy takes by us up to 12% multiplicatively for 20 seconds. And excuse me if I didn't say this, but on our Thunderstruck board, we're going with the Keeper glyph. This is going to take 10% additional damage reduction from vulnerable enemies, which they always will be, because typically our Tempest off of our Seneschal Construct is hitting them, or Exploit Glyph is engaging with them long enough until they're dead. And then you and your companions deal 10% increased non-physical multiplicative damage, which is lightning damage. Okay? So board number 4, Constricting Tendrils. And then we move down into board number 5, which is going to be the Heightened Malice board. Heightened Malice is kind of nice. It's situational, but it's nice. It says, while there's 3 or more poisoned enemies, and again, that's anybody that was critically struck with our Lightning Storm, we gain 45% multiplicative damage. And sometimes against certain bosses, they might summon bone walls, they might summon ads, and the second that they do, your damage gets magnified, which is great. Even on Duriel, you might have a bunch of little maggots around, and that just makes you do more damage, which is fantastic. The rare node here that we get to enjoy as well is going to be Poison Resilience. Again, we just get more life out of this, but Poison Res never hurt anybody with the amount of poison damage Diablo 4 does. Take that res and cap it. It's going to save your ass cheeks. Okay, in addition, in this board, we're going to be going with Earth and Sky. So we take 8.7% reduced damage from poisoned enemies. Again, that's anybody that's critically struck with lightning skills. We gain some dexterity. Damage to poisoned enemies goes up. And we get some int. Plus, nature magic skills deal 10% increased multiplicative damage to crowd control, which is everything that's slow or vulnerable, everything that's hit by Tempest or our exploit glyph. Okay? And then we're also going to enjoy Natureborn. So we take 8% damage reduction from things that are poisoned. So once we crit, we're taking less damage. And finally, we're going to go into the Lust for Carnage board using the Werewolf glyph. 52.8% damage increase while we're in werewolf form. That means channeling our lightning storm, and we get damage reduction of 10% while we're doing that. So while we're trying to kill things, we're staying alive. And we do pick up the Lust for Carnage. This node is awesome. Lightning critical strikes with lightning storm, which is what we're looking to do anyway, gives us 2 spirit. And so that is the reason why everything kind of comes together through Tempest Roar. It's so mandatory for the build to just feel smooth and operate well. That is your Paragon board for the build. All right, so how do you play the build? You got all your items, everything's all set, right? You got your Tempest Roar, everything's all set. You got your Symbiotic. What are we doing? So the first thing we want to do is just sort of channel. We're going to channel a bunch of lightning, okay? So you kind of hold it and count to like 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then while you're doing it, you're just constantly right-clicking. Like, you're not going to hold channel. Don't sit there and hold the right-click down or whatever your button's going to be for Lightning Storm. You want to be pressing it. Once you get to the capacity, like the cap, you're like, click, 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 click. That's what you're actually clicking it. And watch the difference. If I hold down right-click, look at my Earthen Bulwark. Nothing's really changing, right? I'm actually holding down right-click right now, my Lightning Storm. Right? It doesn't change. But when I press Earthen Bulwark and then I actually tap it, I tap Lightning Storm, right? Then you'll notice that the cooldown comes up rapidly. So you do want to be pumping that because it makes a difference. I've also heard that it does more, how do I say, direct, or it sort of tries to combine to become more accurate, more accuracy in the Lightning Storm when you click. So I've heard that, though I can't speak to that. So you're playing it, you're basically sitting here and you're just maximizing it to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get your Lightning Storm all the way up to the max Lightning Storm count. And you press Earthen Bulwark, and then you just start tapping. Just start tapping your Lightning Storm, okay? And then whenever you go up against an elite pack, that's when you drop Ravens to summon additional Ravens, which gives you increased multiplicative per companion. And that's it. And that's it. And that's what you do. You just keep going. And whenever you're kind of getting low, let's say something's going nasty, like this is working really good on multi-target. What happens if it's a single target, right? So let's say boss training dummy, right? This is where you have a lot more issues because your Lightning Storm doesn't have a chance to generate as much spirit through all of your different functions. Here, 1 second, we'll go to singular. So single training dummy, okay? Just to sort of show you that. Again, same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you hit that Earthen Bulwark and you start tapping, right? Then you drop the Ravens, you start tapping. And that's where the damage comes in. You want to be far away. You want to have damage versus distant, right? That's what we have, and we're kind of sitting there, just breaking them up. And that's it. And you're hitting millions of damage, and life is good. That's how you play the build. In Tempest, or excuse me, not Tempest, Trample is great because you can break out of stuff and maintain that unstoppable benefit for your Tibalts, right? That's how you play the build. That's the how-to. So in this situation that you don't have a Tempest Roar, you don't have Tibalts, you don't have the gloves, like what could you do to make this more enjoyable until you hit those desired pieces? Well, for the helmet slot, again, you're going to look for things like max life, cooldown, spirit cost reduction, maybe things like that to help. Again, in the description of this video, all of the Paragon boards, everything is inside of a build guide that you can click the link to in the description. So go for that to verify you know what the affixes are supposed to be. But I've got some options here you can check out. Again, because you maybe wouldn't have Tibalts and maybe you don't have Tempest Roar, if you're looking for some defensive options there, you could go with Disobedience. Still one of the tried, tested, and true best defensive aspects in the game. This is going to give you additional armor, up to 66% for 4 seconds as you're hitting with Lightning Storm. So you build up more defenses and you sort of keep going. In addition, there's a new one called Juggernaut, which is really, really good. At a high item power, it can possibly provide 5,929 armor, which is really, really good. If you have triple evade boots, you don't really care about the cooldown. You're always moving. So again, Disobedience and Juggernaut would really help. Currently, I'm at 6,300. And if I had Juggernauts here with Disobedience, that thing would be capped. I'd be okay. I wouldn't need to worry about trying to achieve 13,300, but I'll get there. As for the gloves, let's say you don't have the unsung ascetic wraps, or maybe you don't have Ring of the Starless Skies, or you didn't hit Stampede. Where could you go? Some options could be things like Conceited Aspect. While you have a barrier, which you would have from Earth and Bulwark, you could use Conceited. It gives you 25% multiplicative damage. Retaliation is the one I keep speaking about. Your Lightning Storm deals up to 30% multiplicative damage based on your Fortify, which again would always be capped because that's constantly happening with your Earth and Bulwark. And then finally, something maybe like Elements. So every 7 seconds, you would get the opportunity to enjoy 30% multiplicative damage as it rotates through 2 different types of elemental damage, Fire, Lightning, and Physical, and then the one where you'd get nothing out of it, Cold, Poison, and Shadow. Poison, you still get a bit, but it's not even worth really talking about. And let's say you're starved. If you guys are starved out there on resources on your ring slots, you could potentially choose Aspect of the Umbral, and you're looking to restore 4 primary resource whenever you crowd control vis-a-vis crit with Lightning Storm and then apply a poison to it to slow it. A crowd control that way would be great. Okay, if you could hit that, that's awesome. Another one would be Starlight Aspect. While I don't have it here to show you, Starlight would give you the benefit of receiving additional spirit whenever you heal. And you heal quite a bit through this build because of Masochistic. So, and maybe some other features as well, but those would be some good ways of generating resource up until you're able to put this build together this way. That's some of the legendary aspects I'd recommend you toss on certain sections on the character. Hope that helps you. As a quick aside, if you don't have the Tempest Roar for this build, it is going to be very difficult to manage. You wouldn't be able to play it this way, to be quite honest. You just pretty much sacrifice the trample option, right? You'd get rid of trample, and you'd move into something like, let's say, your generator skill. Because I'm going to show you, if you take off Tempest Roar in the build, here's kind of what it feels like. So, yeah, you generate, because you're still using Tibalts, you're still using Symbiotic on your chest, that's great. You start attacking, right? But you're going to notice, like, you run out of that resource really, really quick. So, now you're just kind of building and spending, and then whenever you get a chance, right, then you're going to use Symbiotic to your advantage to just kind of persist that damage. And the damage is nice, but it's not buttery smooth like you're seeing, right? Like with Tempest Roar, it's not buttery smooth. But the damage is still there, and you can still do some really incredible things. It's just a little bit less quality of life, smooth gameplay. You toss it back on, then you could just full send, right? Hold it down and let's go, and it just feels so much better, right? And now you can kind of go forever, and that's kind of what you're looking for. That is basically the Lightning Storm companion build that I'm enjoying in Diablo 4 Season 3. I am going to leave you guys with a bit of the gameplay here, showing you Echo of Lilith get kind of stomped, Son of Malphas getting stomped, and just some high-level content. Again, feel free to watch. If it's your kind of thing, get into it. It's a great build, tons of fun. It's exciting to use new powers and new uniques in the game. I hope Blizzard gives us even more and more and more, because I love finding new items and I love using them, making builds with them. So, again, thank you so much to Ace and all of you guys for getting through the video. Thank you for letting me do this. I'll catch you on the next one. Much love, and enjoy Season 3.
I appreciate that.